Hey everyone, welcome back to part 2. In this part we're going to be doing some very base manipulation to our geometries as well as making a very simple platformer. So you might have seen something pop up on my screen. Unreal Engine 4 does have an autosave, which we will be talking about later. But in the last video we put a simple object, we hit the play button and we'd fall on the object. Now let's go ahead and take that a little bit further. What I want you to do is grab another object. So let's grab a cone, let's say, and drop that onto the stage, and then click back at your cube. Okay, and with the cube selected, over here we have a bunch of different properties we can manipulate on the cube, like the transform, which has location, rotation, and scale. And you better believe if you change that to 2 scale or something, it would automatically manipulate the object, and that's pretty cool. You also have rotations, which you can mess with. Let's say I went from 0 degrees to 4 degrees and I clicked away. You might have noticed that object rotated 4 degrees. Additionally, you can roll it. So you see what I'm doing here? I'm rolling the number and I let it go and it scales it. So how I did that is I hovered over the number itself, and then you get like this little slider icon. And if you hold that down, you can actually rotate and manipulate the object. Okay? So that's just a cool way of doing that. You can't do that for the location or the scale, just with the rotation, but you can make like a cooler looking level by manipulating those things. Additionally, usually when you want to change the size of the object, using the scale isn't the best way. If you just scroll down in the properties of this object, and remember this object has to be selected or you won't see these. If you go down to where it says brush settings, we're currently on an additive brush. There's also a subtractive brush, which we'll get into in a bit. And we have the object, which we know it's a box. There's some other things here, and we will talk about those later. But we have here sizes. So if I change the X size to 200 to 1,000, then I'm going to get a much more different level. I'll leave Y at 200, and let's say I change the Z over to 20. Okay, it's gonna, oh, I thought that would totally go the other way. So I'm going to keep that one at 200, and I'm going to change the Y to 20. There we go, something like that. Okay, and you can kind of see that we can use these tools to generate essentially like a very simple platformer. So I'm going to rotate over here, and hopefully you haven't forgotten how to move in Unreal Engine 4. If you have, rehash with the controls or review the first video again. And going to make sure our starting point is above it. So what you're just seeing me do now is I'm just selecting the starting point and making sure it's there. Okay, and then when I press play, boom, I'm on the object. I can move up the object, move down the object, and if that other object was a little bit closer, I could jump to it. Whoops, I fell to my death. So clearly not a good platformer unless your objective is to frustrate everyone who plays it. So that's just something to keep in mind. You can, of course, adjust where this object is located. So that's kind of what I'm going to do. Okay, let's try that out. Oof. Okay, I could do that. Jump. And I missed it. Okay, so clearly maybe I'm not the best at making platformers. But anyway, your objective after you've messed around with these tools for a little bit is to generate a platformer that has at least 7 jumping points and isn't the easiest thing on the planet, but isn't the most difficult thing on the planet either. So go ahead, create a platformer, and when you've done that, go ahead and save. Okay, I'll see you in the next video. Peace.